Until the last call before my death, I realized that Jiang Xu hated me to the bone. He said, "Li Yu, every penny you've thrown my way disgusts me. Every breath of air I take in your home makes me feel filthy. Only when you're dead will the humiliation you've inflicted on me truly disappear." When I opened my eyes again, I was back at 21, and my parents were beaming with delight, suggesting that Jiang Xu and I get engaged first, and marry after graduation. When I returned home, I looked at Jiang Xu's coldly handsome face, which was filled with forbearance and reluctance, and smiled gently. Turning to my parents, I said, "Mom and Dad, free love is all the rage now. Arranged marriages are just feudal relics. And it seems like they might even be illegal now." The large crystal chandelier in the living room illuminated everyone's face particularly clearly. My mom held Aunt Wang's hand, her eyes slightly red. "It's settled then. The two kids will get engaged first. And after the engagement, they'll go abroad together. You don't have to worry about tuition. Once they graduate and return, they'll get married. We're not old-fashioned either. We don't insist on marrying in. But Yaya is the only child. The first child has to take the Li surname. That's not too much to ask, is it?" This time, it was my dad who spoke up. Aunt Wang was glowing with joy, continuously nodding her head, repeatedly saying the same few phrases. "Whatever you all decide. If Xiao Su can marry Yaya, it's like we've hit the jackpot from our ancestors' graves." My dad was very pleased with Aunt Wang's response. "We'll cover the entire engagement banquet, and it will be grand. Xiao Su, from now on, we are one family." I sat next to my dad, my gaze fixed on Jiang Xu across from me. He sat up straight, still exuding that aloof and cold demeanor. Yet the slowly tightening fist betrayed his emotions. If it were Jiang Xu 10 years from now, hearing this, he would only smile gently and appropriately. At this moment, he faced my mother's eager inquiries and plans, only responding with a faint his gaze fixed on the rim of the glass in front of him, as if studying the watermarks on it. "Xiao Su, what do you think?" my dad asked again. Only then did he raise his eyes, his lips barely managing to curl into a stiff smile, his tone flat. "Just listen to what uncle and auntie arrange." My parents thought he was still young and that such shyness and awkwardness were only to be expected. Only I, the one who crawled back from hell, can understand the nearly boiling humiliation and icy hatred beneath his perfect disguise. Jiang Xu was brought to my house by Aunt Wang in his second year of junior high. Before that, the hardworking and pragmatic Aunt Wang had been working as a nanny in my home for 3 years, and my mother was very satisfied with her. Upon hearing that she had a son studying at No. 1 middle school, my mother and she had even more to talk about, because I was just a magic pill, truly lacking in any learning or skills. My mom knew that Jiang Xu was among the top 3 students at City No. 1 high school, and she was inclined to have him come tutor me. The first time I saw Jiang Xu, he was wearing the City No. 1 high school uniform, standing straight with a cold gaze, possessing a stubbornness that set him apart from all the other boys around me. Just from that one glance, I felt he was different. Later, I used the excuse of not wanting Aunt Wang to be all alone, and it would be convenient for our tutoring sessions to act cute and persuade my parents to let him move into our home, knowing that his dream was to apply to an Ivy League school. I begged my parents to fund him to attend various expensive summer camps and research programs. In his sophomore year, although he didn't get into an Ivy League school, he was accepted by the University of Chicago, to avoid being separated from him. I had my dad use his financial influence to apply for a transfer to an obscure university in the same city, where sufficient funding could grant me admission. Later, everything smoothly fell into place. We studied abroad together, graduated, returned home, and got married. Naturally, he entered my company and gradually took over the business. Until the 5th year of marriage, he asked me to deliver an urgent contract to a golf course on the outskirts of the city. As I drove along the winding mountain road, the brakes suddenly failed. In panic, I trembled as I dialed his number. On the other end, he answered, and the background noise was the faint whoosh of golf clubs cutting through the air. "Honey, It seems like my brakes have failed. I cried out, screaming into the phone. But after his brief silence, I heard his disdainful laugh in the receiver, and my heart sank to the depths. Liu. Every penny you hand out to me makes me feel sick. Every breath of air I take in your house makes me feel dirty. Only when you're dead will the humiliation you placed upon me completely disappear. Then I can reclaim my dignity. Liu. I hope in your next life, you won't encounter me again. The busy tone of the call ending coincided with the thunderous sound of my car crashing through the guardrail and rolling down the cliff. My thoughts returned. The crystal chandelier in the living room was bright and warm. And I could hear my dad's excited voice. I've asked a friend to find a house for me, right by Hyde Park. Just 2 streets away from the University of Chicago. It's also very close to both the university and Yeya's school. I'm flying over next month to set up all the furniture and find a reliable auntie. Yeya has a Chinese stomach. She can't be eating burgers every day. And also, Xiaoxiu. You need to hurry and get an international driver's license when you get there. Uncle will buy you a car. How about a Range Rover? Or maybe a Porsche? Since Yeya likes Porsches. He spoke with animated enthusiasm. As if he could already envision the beautiful scene of me and Jiang Xu supporting each other and progressing together in a foreign land. Aunt Wang stood by, rubbing her hands together, both grateful and at a loss, repeatedly expressing her thanks. Jiang Xu sat quietly on the single sofa. His back straight, his expression one of perpetual aloofness and blankness. After my dad finished speaking, he looked at Jiang Xu lovingly. Xiao Su. Besides this, do you have any other requests? Feel free to say anything. I just hope you and Yeya are the same there as you are at home. Please don't hesitate to speak up. Jiang Xu raised his eyes, those typically cool and distant orbs now appearing particularly serious, as he carefully considered his words. Thank you, Uncle Li. The arrangements are already very comprehensive. However, with over 2 months left before school starts, I previously applied for a summer academic camp organized by the Economics Department of Chicago University. And the opportunity is quite rare. I was wondering, could I go there to attend it first? He seemed afraid that my dad would disagree after giving it some thought. And with a hint of urgency, he added, the summer camp is right here in Chicago. I want to go there early to get familiar with the environment and settle in. So I won't be all flustered when school starts and can take good care of Yeya. Sure enough, my dad showed an expression of appreciation and relief. Just about to agree. Dad. I set down the glass I had been holding, the clear clink interrupting the harmony in the room. I've thought about it. Everyone's gaze instantly focused on me. Jiang Xu furrowed his brows immediately. A hint of dissatisfaction flashed across his face. He spoke up first. That summer camp registration has already closed. Moreover, the course intensity is quite high. Focusing entirely on professional seminars and project practice. I'm afraid I won't have the time to take care of Yeya. Uncle Li, I still suggest that Yeya go there after school starts. This period of time is just right for her to catch up on her English in the country. Otherwise, if she suddenly ends up in an all-English environment, I'm worried she won't be able to adapt. Look at how considerate that is. Every word and phrase is thinking of me, while in reality, every word and phrase is saying, don't disturb him. I seemed not to hear his words. Nor did I even glance at him. Instead, I faced my parents' puzzled gazes and slowly curled my lips into a smile, clearly and slowly saying, Mom and Dad, nowadays it's all about free love. Arranged marriages are feudal relics. And it seems they might even be illegal. As the words fell, the living room was enveloped in an utter silence. The smile on my dad's face froze. My mom's mouth dropped slightly in surprise. Aunt Wang was taken aback at first. Then her face turned white in an instant, looking at me helplessly, then glancing at her son, her lips trembling, but unable to utter a single word. And Jiang Xu, the person I had been locking onto from the corner of my eye, the usual, perfect mask of coldness on his face revealed a clear crack in that fleeting moment. In the depths of those typically calm eyes, a hint of surprise, sharpness, and understanding surged. momentarily unmasked. After a few seconds of silence, it was my dad who reacted first. His brows furrowed. Yeah. What nonsense are you talking about? No matter how unhappy you are, you shouldn't say such ridiculous things about arranged marriages. Xiao Su makes a good point. He's going to adapt in advance. The summer camp is intense. And if you're alone in the apartment, with the language barrier, how can mom and dad possibly feel at ease? Looking at the approval and praise in his eyes for Jiang Xu, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity for him in this second life. Dad. Oh Dad. Do you have any idea that you're sitting across from a white-eyed wolf? He will have absolute control of our family company 10 years later, like cleaning away a maggot that has been clinging to him for more than a decade. Aunt Wang's voice snapped me out of my pity for my dad. She grabbed Jiang Xu's arm, her face a bit pale. Xiao Su, did you upset Yaya somewhere? Hurry, apologize to Yaya. She was so anxious that her eyes turned red, looking at me with a pleading gaze. Fearing that my sudden caprice would ruin the bright future her son had painstakingly paved, Jiang Xu took a deep breath. His usually cool gaze turned towards me, swirling with displeasure at having his plans interrupted and suppressed irritation. Yet the words that came out carried a hint of reassurance. Yeah, don't make a fuss. As soon as the summer camp is over, I will immediately notify you to come. Okay. I won't keep you waiting for long. See how proficient. In my past life, it was with this kind of tolerance that he left me speechless after our marriage. However, back then, I was infatuated. As long as he occasionally gave me a piece of candy, I was content. Everyone, quiet down and let Yaya finish speaking. My mom gently patted my dad's arm, but her gaze was worried, fixed on my face. She was the only one who, after my shocking words, didn't rush to judge or comfort me, but instead perceptively sensed that something was amiss with my emotions. How heartbroken must my mother have been to hear the news of my death in my past life. I couldn't hold back any longer, and rushed over, diving into my mother's embrace, tightly wrapping my arms around her waist. Mom. I started off choked up, but soon turned into wailing sobs. My mother was taken aback, but she quickly held me tightly, her warm hands repeatedly stroking my back, her voice thick with emotion. Yeah, dear, don't cry. Mommy's here. Mommy's right here. Tell me, what happened? Who hurt you? I shook my head in her arms, simply crying, as if I wanted to cry out all the fears and regrets from my past life. I don't know how long it lasted, but the surging emotions finally calmed down a bit, leaving only occasional sobs. I lifted my head from my mother's embrace, my eyes swollen and red, and looked toward the several people in the living room, each with different expressions. My gaze swept over Jiang Xu's still perfect face, which now sent chills down my spine, and finally settled on my parents' faces, filled with worry and confusion. I wiped my face fiercely with my sleeve, stood up straight, and though my voice still carried a heavy nasal tone, each word was crystal clear, echoing in the silent living room. Dad. Mom. You've really overthought this. Jiang Xu and I are just ordinary classmates, not even friends. After all, Jiang Xu has never publicly acknowledged that I am his girlfriend. So, I don't plan to transfer to Chicago anymore. I don't want to get engaged to Jiang Xu. I want to stay in the country. Also, I hope Jiang Xu can move out. I'm already 20 years old. Not a child anymore. Dad, you pulled this stunt again today. How do you expect others to see me? I watched Jiang Xu with a hint of vengeful pleasure. Doesn't he think I've insulted his dignity? Doesn't he feel dirty every second he spends in my house? I've given him the opportunity to regain his dignity and breathe fresh air. Jiang Sun was young and impulsive. After hearing what I said, he threw out, "Li Yu, don't regret it," and left with his mother without looking back. I will never regret it, and I will wait for the day he regrets it. After their figures disappeared from my home, I turned to my father and said, "Dad, let's stop all financial support for Jiang Sun. Our family has already funded him for 2 years of college. We have been more than generous, and studying abroad shouldn't cost us any more money. My dad frowned and looked at me inquisitively. Are you throwing a tantrum or are you serious? I'm serious. I don't like him anymore. Don't train him as your future son-in-law. What a shame. My dad shook his head. He's smart, determined, and has potential. You can't rely on him. I was planning to groom him to help you, even if he doesn't become a son-in-law. Could we sign an agreement to have him come back to work for the company after he finishes his studies? No, I said decisively. He's proud and arrogant. He might think that being supported is a humiliation. I think he should want to rely on himself more. Why should we spend money that might not be well received? If he holds a grudge, wouldn't that be planting a bomb in our family? My mom also frowned in agreement. That kid's thoughts are a bit too cold and hard. I seized the opportunity. Dad, instead of always thinking about how to cultivate outsiders, why don't you consider how to turn me into a qualified successor? My dad laughed in anger. Haven't I trained you? It's you who refuses to learn. If it weren't for the fact that you really... He looked me up and down, shook his head, and didn't say anything more to put me down. Well, I admit that in recent years, I really only thought about how to attract Jiang Xu's attention. I looked him in the eye and said, as long as you promise not to fund Jiang Xu a single cent anymore. I will intern at your company during the summer after my sophomore year and I want a position as the executive assistant. Thinking about being the executive assistant under my dad's watchful eye every day, I switched to another position. Just give me a job as a personal assistant. My dad scrutinized me for a moment and decisively said, it's a deal. And Jiang Xu. He would soon find out that he had lost both me and my family's money. His so-called pursuit of dreams is nothing but a bunch of bubbles. I quickly dragged Jiang Xu and his few friends' WeChat accounts into the blacklist. Seeing the group chat titled The Princess and Her Wretched Girlfriends, which I had blocked for over 3 years, I truly found myself despicable. When I first started trailing behind Jiang Xu, their mockery of him was both snobbish and piercing. In a fit of anger, I blocked the group and gradually distanced myself from everyone. It wasn't until this moment that I realized, after all these years revolving around Jiang Xu, I was left with not even a single plastic sister to argue with. By some twist of fate, I lifted the block and tentatively sent a message. Hi. Almost immediately, a cartoon cat avatar replied in a flash. Then the screen was flooded with exclamation marks. I pressed my lips together and typed a line. I told Jiang Xu to get lost. The messages paused abruptly. 2 seconds later, a more intense barrage of exclamation marks flooded in. Jiang Cici, have you been possessed or did you wake up after drinking fake liquor? I held my phone and laughed. To prove I haven't been possessed. Shall we meet at Yunqi Mountain Villa? The group name was instantly changed to Miss Li's brain finally made a comeback. And a chorus of replies flooded in. Let's not leave without seeing each other. As the car drove into the underground parking lot of Yunqi Mountain Villa, Jiang Cici, with her sharp eyes, pointed to a few figures just getting out of an Audi A6 not far away and exclaimed, "Oh my, Liu, isn't that Jiang Xu and his sycophants? Didn't you say?" Her eyes held a threat. As long as I said yes, she would definitely turn around and leave with the others. I peeked out and saw Jiang Xu and his few roommates. After receiving his offer from the University of Chicago, Jiang Xu applied to cancel his enrollment. He must have shown up here to say goodbye and celebrate with his roommates in advance. I cursed under my breath about the persistent ghost. I hurried to inform my dad to quickly find someone to bring back the Audi A6 that was given to Jiang Xu. He also noticed our eye-catching car and slightly furrowed his brow. Such bad luck. Didn't check the lunar calendar before going out. After hanging up the phone, I didn't hide my disgust. Should we change places? The girls exchanged glances. Zhou Wei decisively pulled out the car keys. Change what? There are only a few places in Lingjiang worth visiting. Are we supposed to step aside just because it's Jiang Xu's place? Let's go. And do what we came to do. We were carrying the latest season's bags, chatting and laughing as we walked toward the elevator. Just in time to bump into Jiang Xu and his group in front of the lift. Of course, they might have been waiting at the elevator on purpose. The one beside him, Jiang Xu noticed us coming and immediately winked at his buddies, nudging Jiang Xu with his elbow. Su Gu, that's impressive. We just arrived. And Sister Yu runs into us right away. Such clinginess. Another guy chimed in with a chuckle. Exactly. Sister Yu is really in love with Su Gu. She follows him everywhere. Jiang Xu's expression was calm, but his gaze on me was tinged with displeasure. Li Yu. What are you doing here? I crossed my arms, too lazy to even glance at him. Is this villa owned by your family? You can come. But I can't. I lifted my chin, indicating that the elevator door had opened. Please step aside. Good dogs don't block the way. Jiang Xu's jaw tightened, his voice deepening. Li Yu. I directly walked past him, stepping into the elevator first. My group of friends followed in succession, each holding their heads high, not casting even a sideways glance at Jiang Xu and the others. The elevator ascended to the magnificent lobby. We deliberately slowed our pace and indeed saw Jiang Xu walking straight to the front desk, pulling a card from his wallet and handing it to the staff. His tone flat. Book 4 Deluxe Suites. I squinted my eyes and nudged my best friends. Ready for the show. Yunqi Mountain Resort is one of the luxurious resorts in Linjiang City, with standard rooms averaging around 1,000 per night. The deluxe rooms Jiang Xu requested cost about 5,000 per room per night. After I turned 18, my dad got me a card, and since then, Jiang Xu had been using my supplementary card. However, I deactivated that card yesterday. The receptionist took the card, operated it a few times on the POS machine, and her professional smile turned slightly awkward. She tried again, then looked up and revealed her professional smile. Sir, I'm sorry. This card shows transaction failed. Would you like to try another card or use a different payment method? Jiang Xu's calm expression suddenly froze. The people behind him, including Jiang Xu, were also stunned. My group of best friends was equally impressive. Zhou Wei exaggeratedly exclaimed. Is the threshold for Yunqi Mountain Villa so low now? Are they so bold as to come and freeload without money? Jiang Xu suddenly turned to look at me, his gaze sharp as an ice blade, filled with the anger of being publicly humiliated and a hint of disbelief. Li Yu. He gritted his teeth. Is this your revenge? I crossed my arms and met his gaze, revealing a smile devoid of warmth. My card. I can stop using it whenever I want. What? You've gotten so used to spending someone else's money that you really think it's yours. He stared at me intently for a few seconds, suddenly curling his lips into a cold arc. He stopped looking at me and walked aside, pulling out his phone to make a call. We couldn't hear what he was saying, only seeing his profile tense as he spoke briefly into the phone. After hanging up, he stood in place for a minute before walking back to the counter. He no longer attempted to use the card but directly opened his Alipay app, holding the payment code up to the scanner. With a soft ding, the front desk lady's voice rang out again. Sir. Payment successful. The total is 19,996 yuan. Here is your room card. Jiang Xu took the room card without glancing at us again, striding straight towards the elevator with his group of friends who were still exchanging glances. His back was stiff and upright, like a dog trying to hold itself together. TSK. Zhou Wei shook her sunglasses in her hand and commented. Looks like our Jiang, the campus heartthrob, has richer roots than we imagined. 20,000. And not a blink. I smiled lightly and didn't respond. Deep down, I felt that Aunt Wang would be better off raising a barbecued pork than him. Let's go. I linked arms with Jiang Cici and Zhou Wei. Let's not allow unimportant people to ruin our vacation mood. The strawberry shed was sweet and warm. Jiang Cici and I had just picked half a basket when we saw Jiang Xu's 3 roommates swaggering in at the entrance. Jiang Cici and I exchanged glances, both of us showing irritation and disdain. How could we run into them everywhere? Moreover, I squinted and observed them for a while. They didn't seem to have good intentions. Jiang Xu led the way, with the other 2 flanking him on either side, seemingly trying to persuade him in hushed tones. But he shrugged them off. He walked straight up to us and blocked our path, with his arms crossed and chin slightly raised. Jiang Xu opened with a confrontational tone. Sister Yu, is it appropriate for you to treat Brother Su this way? I gently rubbed the bridge of my nose, realizing it was all my fault for spoiling Jiang Xu and his group of roommates with my fondness. Who would have thought that the person who first tried to win my favor by exploiting every opportunity would end up being so domineering in front of me? Sure enough, one shouldn't give him too much face. He continued on his own. First, you froze his card. And now you're sending someone to tow his car. Brother Su is not your family's Livian son-in-law. Don't you think your economic control tactics are a bit too? He deliberately paused, leaving the unpleasant implication hanging in the air. I understood at once. My dad moved really quickly. It seems that Audi A6 has already been taken away. Jiang Xu is not here. Is he off to return the car keys? Sister Yu. It's not that we brothers are meddling. We've all been watching how you've pursued Brother Su over the years. It's not easy to bare your heart and soul. He changed his tone, laced with both regret and a warning. Now that it seems you're finally on the verge of achieving something good. Do you really want to do this? Aren't you afraid you'll truly annoy him and leave him feeling cold-hearted? He spread his hands, feigning concern for me. A man like Brother Su, with good looks, talents, and a bright future. If you mess this up, finding someone of the same caliber again would be as hard as searching with a lantern. Take my advice. Know when to stop. And know when it's enough. The two roommates beside me exchanged uneasy glances and awkwardly tugged at Jiang Xu. But he shrugged them off. Jiang Xu looked at me as if she had swallowed something unpleasant, turning her head to say, "How have you been able to stand this ordinary yet self-assured bro for these past few years?" Jiang Xu's expression changed drastically. I stepped forward to block his view of Jiang Xu. Jiang Xu, why are you working so hard for him? What benefits has he given you that makes it worth sticking your neck out for him? Heh, someone like you, who only knows how to use a few lousy bucks to suppress others, will never understand the brotherhood we share. Really, Li Yu. Jiang Xu's low voice came from the entrance, interrupting the sarcasm I was about to unleash. He approached quickly with a tense face, his displeased gaze first sweeping over his few roommates, and finally landing with disdain on my face. You think that making a scene like this will make me compromise? That I would take you to Chicago ahead of time, using such childish tactics to apply pressure? Li Yu, when will you ever grow up? I looked into his eyes, deeply rooted in the belief that all my actions were just to entangle him, and pointed outside the shed. Do you see that road? Get lost. 2 weeks later, the sunlight was just right in the villa's glass greenhouse, and I was holding the flower shears, pruning a cluster of blooming roses. Li Yu. A suppressed growl filled with anger came from the doorway. Jiang Xu stood there, his chest slightly rising and falling, clearly having hurried over, his bangs a bit disheveled, and in his usually cool eyes, there was now a fire burning. You told your dad to stop funding me. He strode up to me, a face full of accusation. I set down the flower scissors and picked up a handkerchief nearby to slowly wipe the dew off my fingertips before looking up at him, feigning surprise. Oh, did you receive the email from the University of Chicago? My calm tone made his fists clench tightly. Li Su, my dad previously agreed to continue funding you because I liked you, treating you as a potential son-in-law for investment. Now that I no longer like you, why should he waste that money? I stepped closer and looked into his eyes. The University of Chicago doesn't offer much in the way of financial aid for international students. Over 4 years. That's nearly a couple of million. The money in my family isn't just blowing in with the wind. You're being ridiculous. His voice rose, laced with a tone of accusation and impatience, as if to say, do you even realize how big of a mistake you're making? Do you understand how serious this is? The school is now refusing to issue the I-20. Without the I-20, I can't get a visa. All my plans will go down the drain. So what? I tilted my head. What does that have to do with me? He was at a loss for words, his chest heaving violently a few times, as if he was struggling to suppress his anger. For a moment, he took a deep breath, suddenly softened his voice, and conceded. Li Yu, stop messing around. Okay, His tone lowered. I promise you, when the summer camp starts, I'll take you along. Can you stop forcing me like this? All right. I looked at him and suddenly smiled. Jiang Xu, are your ears just for decoration? Or do you only hear what you want to hear? I reined in my smile, speaking each word with crystal clarity. I'll say it one last time. I am not going abroad. I want to stay in the country. Jiang Xu's expression changed abruptly. The facade of gentleness shattered instantly, replaced by disbelief. You're staying in the country. You submitted a withdrawal application to the school. How can you stay? Li Yu, don't joke like this. Are you going to take the college entrance exam again? Stop it. Before I was wrong. I neglected you. Okay. He truly believed that I was throwing a tantrum in a self-destructive way to gain his attention and compromise. I picked up the flower shears and held them up to the sunlight, inspecting the sharp blade. My tone light and airy. Who told you I submitted the application to withdraw from school? His pupils suddenly contracted. That night in my living room, I clearly told you that I wanted to stay in the country. I turned away, continuing to trim the rose bush, my voice laced with confusion. Jiang Xu, you aren't so self-righteous as to take my words as just a fit of anger and then went off to submit a withdrawal application, are you? With a crack, a superfluous branch fell in response. Behind me was a deathly silence. A few seconds later, I heard his short, gasping breaths. I turned back and saw that his face had drained of color, pale as paper, and even his lips were trembling slightly. In those eyes that were always calm and composed, there was now an overwhelming terror and a late-arriving despair. If he weren't still here, I would have wanted to sing a song, but I didn't say anything more. I simply picked up the freshly cut rose, with its thorns, and casually tossed it into the nearby waste bin. Li Yu, you're lying to me, aren't you? He suddenly stepped forward quickly, gripping my wrist tightly. As I was his last hope at that moment, I broke free from him without hesitation. Just like in a past life when he unhesitatingly hung up the phone after spilling his heartfelt words. Jiang Xu, you've actually hated me all along, haven't you? Or rather, you've always been jealous of me. Jealous that I am uneducated, arrogant and ignorant, yet possess the wealth that you can never achieve, no matter how hard you strive for a lifetime. The words pierced Jiang Xu's most fragile pride like a knife. His expression twisted in an instant, the cold mask he had meticulously maintained for years crumbling with a thunderous crash. He stared at me in shock, and after a moment, he began to defend himself. I didn't. I never. How could I hate you, let alone be jealous of you? I love you. I love you. Li Yu, you're quite something, pretending for so many years. I'm giving you a chance at freedom now. Isn't this what you've always wanted? I watched as Jiang Xu's pupils constricted sharply, observing his tall body begin to tremble uncontrollably. You should thank me. I took a step back, spreading my hands. From now on, you won't have to breathe the air in my house, thick with the stench of money, nor constantly face the humiliation of seeing me. I am allowing you to reclaim your dignity. I tilted my head, feigning confusion as I looked at him. Why aren't you smiling? Jiang Xu's face turned instantly as pale as paper. Summer vacation had arrived in the blink of an eye. I went to intern at my dad's company and reported to the HR department as soon as the holiday started. However, news about Jiang Xu kept coming in through classmates and girlfriends. But it was nothing more than him selling the watch I had previously given him at a second-hand luxury goods store, trying to borrow money from anyone he could, and even humbly begging classmates he had previously looked down on. Listening to these pieces of news, I found it simply ridiculous. But what I didn't expect was that, after I had said such stern words, Jiang Xu would still show up in front of me with a shameless face, accompanied by his mother, Aunt Wang. He has changed. The once aloof and proud school heartthrob, now troubled by money again, has a disheveled appearance, dark circles under his eyes, and wrinkled clothes, as if he hasn't changed in days. As soon as Aunt Wang saw me, tears streamed down her face. She grasped my hand, her voice trembling. Yeah, I'm begging you. Please don't ruin him. I pulled my hand back and looked at her calmly. Aunt Wang. Jiang Xu is a man of integrity. Giving him money would only harm him. Aunt Wang was stunned, seemingly not expecting me to respond like this. Just then, Jiang Xu, who had been silent all along, suddenly spoke up. Bone and spine. Dignity. Jiang Xu, who had been standing like a wooden man, suddenly scoffed. He lifted his head, and his eyes, once as cold as distant stars, were now bloodshot, locked onto me with a haunting mix of despair and madness swirling within. Li Yu. His voice was hoarse, yet carried a strange certainty. You really have come back. My heart skipped a beat as I looked up at him, only to meet a pair of eyes filled with resentment. What are you talking about? I frowned. Stop pretending. He tugged at the corner of his mouth, a twisted smile on his face. I'm back too. My heart raced wildly, but I forced myself to stay calm. Jiang Xu, what nonsense are you talking? Have you gone insane? Am I crazy? He laughed softly, but his gaze grew colder and colder. One time of ruining me isn't enough for you. You want to ruin me a second time. Do you want to know how I came back? I didn't say a word, yet he continued on, his voice growing more and more agitated. I was so discreet. After your death, I was attentive to your parents, yet they still suspected me and sent me to prison. Ha ha. But heaven took pity on me, giving me a chance to start over. But when I woke up, everything had changed. He stared at me fiercely, enunciating each word. Li Yu, you came back to take revenge on me, didn't you? I took a step back, suppressing the anxiety in my heart, feigning calmness. Aunt Wang. He's lost it. You should take him to the hospital. Aunt Wang also panicked, grabbing Jiang Xu's sleeve, her voice trembling. Xiao Su, don't scare Mom. He spoke incoherently, his eyes wild, and Aunt Wang, holding his hand, was brutally shaken off by him. Jiang Xu, calm down. I forced myself to remain composed, but my heart was racing fiercely. Calm? How can you expect me to be calm? His eyes were bloodshot, filled with resentment. You destroyed everything I had. How can you expect me to stay calm? Li Yu, admit it. You came back for revenge. You want to drag me back into the mud, don't you? I suddenly stood up and walked over to Aunt Wang. Aunt Wang, hurry, take him away. He's not sober. He needs to see a doctor. Leave. Let's go to hell together. He screamed, his hand sharply reaching for his pocket. A flash of silver light. I couldn't even see what it was. I only felt a tremendous force come from the side as Aunt Wang threw her entire strength into pushing me aside. Thud. It was the sound of a blade piercing flesh. Time seemed to stand still. Jiang Xu stood frozen in place, the crazed expression on his face solidifying. He looked down in confusion at his own hands. The fruit knife he was holding was almost completely plunged into Aunt Wang's chest. Aunt Wang opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but only blood and foam gushed out. She looked at Jiang Xu, her eyes devoid of hatred, only filled with endless sorrow and pleading. And then she softly collapsed. Mom. Jiang Xu let out a piercing, inhuman wail, releasing his grip as he futilely tried to cover the gushing wound. His hands and body instantly covered in warm, sticky red. I quickly ran out to call the police while he wasn't paying attention to me. Jiang Xu, who had chased after me, was firmly pinned to the ground by the security guard who had arrived just in time. His face pressed against the cold floor, but his eyes still fixed on me, filled with unbearable curses. His tears, snot, and blood smeared all over his face. The once cool appearance of the school's top student had completely shattered at this moment, revealing the most grotesque and despicable core underneath. When Aunt Wang was lifted into the ambulance, she was already silent. I was supported by the police and my parents, watching Jiang Xu, covered in blood, being dragged towards the police car like a dead dog by two officers. All right. Yeah, don't be afraid. It's okay. It's okay. I hugged my trembling mother, who was terrified, and rested my head on her neck. Yes, Mom. It's okay now. From that day on, I would stay close to them. A year later, Jiang Xu was found guilty of intentional homicide. But the judge, taking circumstances into account, sentenced him to a death penalty with a 2-year reprieve. Jiang Xu chose not to appeal. Although I was somewhat dissatisfied with the non-execution of the death sentence, I felt powerless. As I walked out of the courthouse, I sincerely hoped that Jiang Xu would, like in his previous life, die in prison, never come out to harm others. However, perhaps for Jiang Xu, who possesses memories of his past life, chewing over the grandeur of the past every day in prison would be even more unbearable than death. The end.